Trees don't mind if you don't have it all figured out. If you laugh too loud or cry too easily, if you don't quite fit in. Trees don't mind if your eyes, teeth, hair, clothes aren't perfect, if your socks don't match, if you're a little rough around the edges. Trees don't mind where you were born, what color your skin is, what language you speak. Trees don't mind if you have a few more pounds or a lot less hair than you used to. If you walk with a limp or a cane. Trees don't mind if you're more sensitive than the average person. Truth be told, they love it. Trees accept you exactly as you are. This next poem is about a special friend who happens to be a redwood tree. Do any of you have special tree friends? Oh, quite a few. Yes, trees make excellent friends. I encourage approaching, considering trees and other beings in the more than human world as potential friends, allies, and teachers. Beloved redwood, friend and teacher, thank you for giving so much to so many. Fresh air, shade and shelter, beauty and inspiration, more than words can say. Beloved redwood, friend and teacher, thank you for your deep and eloquent teachings on what it is to be rooted, to be balanced between earth and sky, to give generously. Beloved redwood, friend and teacher, thank you for letting me lean into your trunk and feel your support, for allowing me to call on you for strength and guidance, even when you're far away. Beloved redwood, friend and teacher, thank you for showing me how to listen deeply, for holding and healing me in more ways than human words can express. Beloved redwood, beloved redwood, beloved redwood.
Unconditional love. Is there really such a thing? Is it humanly possible to love someone unconditionally, without strings attached? Ideas and expectations of the way things should go, without a mutual agreement of relationship? Is it possible to unconditionally love someone if their behaviors go against our moral and ethical life? That one's a doozy. That requires sainthood. But unconditional love is also called altruistic love, compassionate love, or the Greek word agape, which is defined as divine love for all humanity, a love willing to make sacrifices for the greater good. Agape is holding us in love. So let us have a brief, hopefully accessible, and certainly not exhaustive look into unconditional love. I'll start with a story. A few weeks ago, I brought mandarin oranges from my tree to Dance Circle, which is my other spiritual home. I'm a two-timer. And I was sharing this story with Kai, and it goes something like this. Scott and I have 2 mandarin orange trees in our backyard. They were planted near each other about 25 years ago, and they are very different. And here is one of them. So there'll be a couple of pictures on the slide here. One is about 12 feet tall with a full complement of branches, and every year it produces perfect, fragrant little flowers, and in the winter it gives us amazing oranges. Some years like this one, there is a bumper crop, and the branches are so heavy with fruit that we have to use those supportive sticks to keep them from breaking. The other tree is about 3 feet tall. It produces about 3 or 4 oranges every year. And I call it my Charlie Brown Mandarin orange tree. It's awfully cute. Okay. There was a time when I considered cutting it down, just taking out the little tree. I mean, after all these years, it has not grown, it does not produce oranges, it takes up space and requires water. But you know, I couldn't bring myself to do it, and I wonder why. While in seminary, I attended a class called Environmental Ethics and Liberation. And it was taught by our current Unitarian Universalist Association president, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. Perhaps you can imagine by the title of this class, Environmental Ethics and Liberation, the class was a deep dive into the impact humanity has had and continues to have on Earth and all earthly beings. We studied the research and spiritual practices of many revered scientists and environmentalists like Aldo Leopold, Rachel Carson, and our very own Unitarian Henry David Thoreau. Within a semester rich and full of lessons, there was one in particular that really stuck with me and made me feel awe and consternation. All plants and animals on earth are entitled to their own lives. Imagine the inherent value of non-human life on earth. It is not determined through a human-centric evaluation. Its existence is not judged as worthy because it suits human needs or is convenient or is preference for beauty or use of space. Like, what a concept. As a person with a home surrounded by redwood trees that have to be trimmed, some of them have to be completely cut down so that we can have sunlight. As one who lives in a home surrounded by cultivated gardens, including ornamentals and vegetables, I really have to wrestle with this. But amid all of this, excuse me, I intuited, here we go. I intuited that the inherent value of little Charlie Brown Mandarin orange tree is not dependent upon me. It's not dependent upon whether it produces for my pleasure or consumption. It's entitled to its own life. And as it has managed to live all these years in our very unique microclimate, I must step aside and let it have its full lived experience. And all the while, the whole garden will have a lived experience with it as well. It is a small act, but I wonder, is this an example of unconditional love? During the welcoming of our service, I invoked 2 of our UU values and covenants, being interdependence and pluralism. And these are accompanied by 4 more: transformation, generosity, justice, and equity. What is particularly significant here, what brings all of these together as a spiritual practice, is that they are grounded and centered in love. Is this love conditional? Is this love unconditional? Maybe a little bit of both. Consider equity. Equity is a bedrock of our UU faith, and our belief that humankind, no matter what, all people are deserving of equal access and opportunities to engage their lives and their livelihoods. That looks a little bit like unconditional love. And what about generosity? Speaking for myself, sometimes my generosity is conditional. I am generous with things that I believe in, and I'm not generous with things that I don't. Justice, on the other hand, is unconditional love in action. And as for transformation, looking through the lens of unconditional love, I don't know. I'm going to have to give that a little more thought. All in all, unconditional love is hard, and it asks a lot of us. So let's contemplate inclusivity. And it's in regard to its opposite of being ableism. For this inquiry, we'll approach it from the angle of word usage, in particular, how words do or do not represent or reflect the lived experience of people who are participating. Are people being included or excluded by how things are being offered, for instance? And a perfect example is one of our hymns, Standing on the Side of Love. So the term came to us when then UUA President Reverend Bill Singford was at a protest. And one of the journalists came up to him and he said, "Where do Unitarian Universalists stand regarding gay marriage?" And his response was, "We stand on the side of love." This quote became a song, and it became a name of one of our organizations, which is now called Side with Love. So a couple of Sundays ago, I was here when Rev Lara was in the pulpit, and we sang the song titled Standing on the Side of Love. But you see, not everybody can stand. And so the words were changed just a little bit to answering the call of love. Inclusivity requires of us attention to some details. It requires adjusting the way things are done to accommodate the variety of lived experiences. True, sometimes it slows things down. Sometimes it requires extra effort, but it's worth it. And we are called to figure it out. This feels like unconditional love. A lot is being asked of us in these trying times, the strongest of which is to take action and response from a place of love, from a place of agape, as difficult as it may be. An act of unconditional love is to take care of things and people that we don't know. Perhaps things and people that we differ with tremendously. Unconditional love asks us to live and let live, to accommodate, and to make room for the larger life than the little small one that we are really familiar with. When we do our work from a place grounded and centered in love, we have an opportunity to offer grace. When we choose to relate from this place, we are aligned with all that is holy. We are aligned with best practices. We are aligned with our own personal integrity, insight, and we put our efforts towards the world we want to live in. This is a spiritual practice, and it is some of the most profound work we will ever do. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. We rest in this love. Blessed be.
Sometimes I walk like a poet, slowly, mindfully, as though I have plenty of time to marvel at the many small wonders of the world. The soft murmurs of leaves stirred by a gentle breeze, crimson blossoms glowing in the morning sun, a shiny black beetle trundling along the path, whose humble yet precious life will go on because I noticed her presence. Sometimes I move with awareness that everything is sacred, and my role is nothing more and nothing less than to honor that sacredness.